Hi, everyone. I'm Rob Abel. As most of you probably know, I'm the CEO here at IMS Global Learning Consortium. So, digital transformation, what does it mean? It comes up a lot. It's been coming up more and more, particularly in higher education as a topic, and it's becoming more and more important, even though it's something that arguably we've all been working on for about 10 or 20 years. What's the focus here in IMS, and why is this an important topic to IMS? That's what I hope to cover here today. Bottom line is, in IMS, we're focused on digital transformation of teaching and learning. In fact, I will state unabashedly that we, the IMS members, suppliers, institutions, and states, are leaders in digital transformation when it comes to the focus on teaching and learning. So what is it? Well, this is an article that I've been using as kind of a backdrop to some conversations for a couple of years now. It's from a fellow by the name of Ed Clark, published in the EDUCAUSE Review in May of 2018. And it was actually David Goodrum, who I'll have a quote from later on in this talk, who enlightened me about the existence of this article. What I love about this article is that Ed talks about digital transformation, not just purely from the perspective of education, but really as it relates to all different types of industries. And what he lays out here is a pretty nice framework that there are kind of four key metrics, if you want to call them, four ways to look at the things that should be changing and improving through digital transformation. Customer experience is in the middle of that whole experience there. In education, it often makes us nervous to think about our students as customers. And the definition of customer is a bit more complicated in education than many other industries, but I think most would agree that the student experience balanced with improving learning and opportunity is what we're all working towards. Competitiveness, again, that's kind of a bit of a maybe strange word for education. Education is a very protected industry with high barriers to entry. Nevertheless, as costs have gone up, so has scrutiny of educational systems and processes, and has led to consideration of other options and an obvious evolution of where things might be going into the future. Profitability, another strange word for education. We don't typically think in those terms because most of the education sector is nonprofit, but it's really about cost. It's all the cost pressures that all of you are so familiar with. It's about managing costs. It's about doing more with the same, or maybe and sometimes even less. And then lastly, agility. I think this is one we understand. The technology, digital transformation is expected to help open up flexibility in business models, reduce process friction and response times. Now, what I like to do is think about this from an academic technology perspective, those same four dimensions. How are they related to instruction and learning? Well, just kind of comes down to how do we improve the customer experience when it comes to teaching and learning? Well, isn't it all about improving the overall teaching and learning experience with digital technology, helping faculty and students have more success or achieve greater efficiency, and making the whole of the various technologies greater than the sum of the parts, easier to use together? How do we improve competitiveness? Well, I would say it's an incorporation of instructional innovation in the academic program or curriculum. Add to that real-time data used to help improve teaching programs, et cetera, on an ongoing basis. And profitability, as I had mentioned, is really about saving time and cost, particularly on application and data integrations, but also on just everyday tasks, allowing greater scale, diversity, and equity. And agility in our world is, I think, the ability to trial and integrate new products, innovation from a wider choice of possibilities. So the question of how do you, practically speaking, put in place an academic technology or edtech strategy that enables you to achieve all of these dimensions? That's sort of the question that we're trying to answer, help answer as a community, and what's motivating us. And so I think the answer is clear, and hopefully it is to you too, being members of IMS. An open standards-based ecosystem. An open standards-based ecosystem removes the barriers to choice, agility, scale, data, and the additional costs typically associated with traditional approaches as you try to scale. If you spend any time visiting the higher ed or K-12 digital transformation pages, just look under the initiative tab and scroll down and you'll see them on the IMS website. This picture should be very familiar to you. These blocks here, or maybe they're trapezoids, I don't know. The first one is really about enabling what we call enabling digital on day one. And that's typically done with some baseline foundation specifications like OneRoster in K-12 or Edu API/LIS in higher ed. Second block is really about enabling, what we like to say, enabling innovation at the speed of now. That's using LTI Advantage, Common Cartridge, Caliper. And the third is about connecting every student to greater opportunity using digital credentials, such as the Comprehensive Learner Record and Open Badges. The point of this figure, we have to explain many times, is it's not a prescription, but it's more like a best practice or maturity model. Exactly what you do in your institution or where you play, and this is a supplier, of course, depends on what your strategy is and what you're trying to enable. You can really start anywhere. And I think it's fair to say that the IMS members are indeed excelling across this spectrum of activities today. Now, with that as a little bit of a backdrop, let's talk a little bit about the pandemic. First, I just wanted to say, I mean, just in general in IMS, it's really your leadership, it's your activity, that really inspires us. And I'm sure the whole team that's on here with me will tell you that. And every member of the IMS team, all 35 of them or so, are going to tell you that. And we thank you because you've inspired us so much during the last, whatever it's been now, 6, 7, 8 months that we've been going through this literally on a daily basis. You know, we did some deep interviews with many of the IMS members for the Learning Impact on Demand webinars, which we have used to replace the Learning Impact 2020, and they're all online and publicly available. And, you know, bottom line, of course, is that during the pandemic, the importance of learning platforms, content, and tools of all kinds are even more important than they were, both in higher ed and K-12. And it's the work of you guys, you know, the IMS members, those of you tuning in, that makes quotes like this from David Goodrum at Oregon State possible. And we see this every day, and I hope you're seeing it as well. It's really an amazing collaboration and alignment that's really accelerating the progress, not only of our members, of course, but all of the non-members who are benefiting from the development and acceleration of the ecosystem. And, you know, we're usually all very heads down getting things done, right? We've all got our day jobs, including me and all of the IMS staff. But when we raise up and look around, it's really been quite a profound change and evolution that we've seen over the last 15 years or so. So one more chart from Ed Clark. This is a diagram that he used to explain digital transformation at St. Thomas University, which is where he works. And certainly this is from the IT perspective. And I think this is a pretty cool picture because it hits a lot of key things here that are really important: customer experience, but also sensing. That's kind of where the data comes in, right? The data part of all of this, and partnerships, right? And then the core IT, the ability to run the IT enterprise. And I think I didn't do it for you here, but I think if you look at the quadrants, those quadrants, academic, technology, lens, you know, you can readily see kind of a mapping, I think, that takes place in that top left quadrant, the customer experience. It's really about you know, best in class ed tech experience and actionable data. And then the bottom left, the smart technologies, right? You know, that is all about data. That is all about collecting data that is actionable and usable. And then if you go over to the top right, the partnerships, well, that's all about your institutional ecosystem, or the ecosystem strategy that makes partnerships possible and seamless and trusting, which is very, very important. And then on the bottom right, your IT infrastructure, your academic technology infrastructure. Look at that word, you know, resilient. It's a resilient connectivity that's made possible by an open standard strategy in that bottom right. So in the middle, what's in the middle? Well, you know, your digital strategy development. I think, you know, you have an institutional academic technology, or if you like to call it the ed tech strategy, and you've got some strategic imperatives there, like student success, personalized learning, etc. Obviously, you're going to have more detail on that, but that's what you have. And the applicability of David Goodrum's quote from the previous slide is simply that I think you'll probably agree that during the pandemic, it's indeed the academic technology strategy and ecosystem that has come to the fore in so many ways. So beyond the pandemic, we've what's going to happen? We're all hoping it's going to be ending soon, right? And I'm sure it will. But I'm proud to say that the the IMS members, most of them, if not all, appear to have strategies in place for continuity and resilience, and they've had practice and thinking about this. And it's really remarkable if you think about it. If you were in the ed tech industry 15 years ago, how we've moved to the ability to support mission critical use of teaching and learning technology. Just absolutely fabulous what you guys have made possible, to be honest. And I think in terms of the response to the pandemic, as well as response to the future, as David Goodrum said in his quote, it really comes down to having an ecosystem strategy that enables you to be agile, to scale, purposely improve the experience of your key stakeholders. And so, as you know, we replaced the Learning Impact Conference with this series of on-demand webinars. They're easy to find. I hope you watch them. You just go to the IMS web page and you can click in and see those. They're really, really good. There's really a lot of great insights there. But basically, we heard over and over again that being prepared meant the ability to focus better on helping meet the needs of faculty, students, parents, and administrators. Empathy. It's hard to show empathy if you're not prepared and ready with your technology. Basically, improving the customer experience. So that's been happening. We've surveyed the IMS institutional members, and 95% indicated that the IMS relationship helped them to be prepared to pivot rapidly, being agile in practice. So agility, right? Customer experience, agility. And finally, we heard a common theme again that these many ideas that we've been discussing about the future of digital learning, different modalities, mixing different modes of modalities for different types of audiences, and so forth. Many of our IMS members are seeing this actually as an opportunity to accelerate the progress in those areas, accelerate. So it's actually, we're seeing a mindset of opportunity rather than, really being downtrodden in any way, shape, or form. And this sounds like competitiveness to me, at least within the realm of education. So my key point to you is this: I believe that we can view this pandemic as one example of the importance of having a digital transformation strategy as it relates to teaching and learning. None of us know what lies ahead, but the world will continue to evolve, and we surely will see the need for improving the customer experience, agility, competitiveness, and doing all of that while managing costs. So in IMS, we, suppliers, institutions, and states are leaders in digital transformation when it comes to focus on teaching and learning. And that means you, if you are out there watching you. So what you are already doing, in my opinion, is the type of leadership that is needed in the education sector around the world. Let us work together to think about what you're doing from the perspective of the 4 transformation areas or metrics: customer experience, agility, cost, and competitiveness. And that's really what I wanted to get you thinking about here. And this is why we are here. Simply put, the wonderfulness of all this, the effective digital transformations strategy at scale, while still being affordable and keeping competition open, does not happen without the committed partnership to build an ecosystem based on open standards that is happening in IMS, that you guys are making happen. Other approaches have been tried before, and we are still being tried in some quarters, but they have not gotten us where we want and need to go to support the diversity, equity, and cost challenges in evolving our educational systems to where we want them to go. And so we believe in this united partnership that is committed to achieving an open and inclusive education technology ecosystem and serves the needs of every learner, every educational institution, and every edtech supplier. And it's through this collaboration that we are working together to lift up every teacher and learner. But perhaps the coolest thing about IMS is we don't just talk about that, we do it, So our collective ability to put that ecosystem in place is for real. And, meaning that we're putting in place that connectivity that makes affordable, scalable digital transformation possible. And in 2020, we're seeing significant adoption now of two such innovations: digital credentials via the Comprehensive Learner Record, and student data privacy via the Trusted Apps program. And there's more coming soon, so stay tuned. It's an exciting time for us, actually, in terms of the progress we're making and will be making, continue to be making.